Wow, we have one of the most active astrological weeks in a long time when it comes to the shift of energies. It is so busy. We're going to cover Monday, the 2nd of September through to the end of the day, Sunday, the 8th, for your sun, moon, and rising, as well as looking at big global stories going on. But just so you know what exactly I'm talking about, we have a Virgo new moon coming up this week. We have Venus hitting the south node. We have Mars beginning a multi-month ingress into the sign of Cancer. We have Pluto shifting on September the 1st into the sign of Capricorn, backpedaling backwards, and also Uranus turning retrograde. I think you're going to sense that the first week of September just feels a whole lot different than the last few weeks of transits through the month of August. It just has a different flavor. And the good news for September is we have Venus in Libra as we step into this week in great dignity. And later on, next Monday, the 9th, we get Mercury also going through Virgo. There's a lot of kind of good vibe in the first 2 to 3 weeks of September. Things get heavier later on. We'll be covering separate videos on that. So I'm going to show you a picture of the sky, and we're going to talk about world events and your sign. But if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're one of my regulars, welcome back. You know, my name is Lori Lothian. I am using Western Tropical Zodiac. This is not sidereal. I'm using whole sign houses, as do all ancient traditional astrology practices. And fixed stars and minor asteroids, of course, are my favorite astrological tool. I'm here, I hope, to help you time your own best life by using astrology as a navigational tool. And I hope you will learn something from me, because I tend to be more of a teacher type of astrologer. If you'd like to learn astrology on that note, my Sky Reader 6-week live class begins the last weekend of September. Come join me in that group. We're going to be learning together. I've taught this class 4 times before. It's a live Q&A, live classes, weekly Facebook homework group, private group stuff. It's really intimate. And also I make sure that you get to keep the content forever, so you can go back over it, or if you miss a class, you'll be able to catch up. So you have evergreen forever access to the course after you have taken it. So come join my Sky Reader, be your own astrologer, and time your best life. We start last week of September. In the description box below, you'll see links for everything you need to know, the early bird discount waitlist and the course description, and we'll be opening the enrollment cards sometime by the middle of September. All right, so let's get talking about the sky. I've a little bit of a sigh here because there's just so much to cover that I'm going to do a couple of front end things. Well, I'm not going to talk too much about how Pluto begins retrograding on Sunday, the 1st of September, into Capricorn and doesn't leave until November the 19th, back into Aquarius for the next 20 years. I'm not going to cover that because I already have a video out about this, and it's pinned to the top of my channel. And it's really important that you listen to that video, because it's a big grand finale, the last gasp, of Pluto, and a part of your sky that he's been traveling in since 2008. And so you want to finalize this story and understand what the last messages are for you based on your sign, rising, sun, or moon. And I'm not also going to talk too much about the Virgo new moon that's happening on the 2nd or 3rd, depends on your time zone. So therefore Monday or Tuesday, because I've already covered that Virgo new moon opposite Saturn in a new moon all signs video. Again, that's all on my channel. You just have to go to my videos in the video tab and see recent drops. So we will not discuss the Virgo new moon, new beginning, nor will we discuss Pluto retrograding into Capricorn. But what I haven't covered yet on my channel in any depth is the retrograde of Uranus through the sign of Taurus, starting his retrograde at fixed star Algol, Eeks, the Medusa's head, going backwards in the sky until the January 30th time frame. And we can see him moving back between the 27th degree of Taurus, where the fixed star Algol, the Medusa's head, is sitting, and the demon's head star is called, all the way back to 23 degrees of Taurus. And so that range of motion will be in play, 27 Taurus to 23 Taurus, between the retrograde turnaround point of September 1st to January 30th of 2025. And for your sun, your moon, and rising, it means something in particular. And I'll be talking about that. Sun can be career purpose, and your moon can be home and mind and emotions, and the rising sun can be everything about you. I often look at the sun as your eternal nature, the one who plays the avatar character called your ascendant in the video game simulation of life. But the character of the ascendant is important because you see everything through the lens of that character. It's like your meat suit character that you're playing through, right? And of course, the moon can be about our spirit that animates the body, but all like the soul that animates the body, the life force, the prana, but therefore your mind body complex, how you perceive reality. But also just moon means home. It's connected with the Cancer fourth house, and it may indicate changes of home when you have moon activations in your chart. So those are the things to look for. We'll be going through the whole what it means when Uranus travels through your blank whole sign house. Don't use Placidus because Placidus won't work properly. You could have an intercepted sign within one house. You might have big skews if you're born in the northern and far northern, far southern latitudes, especially during certain times a year. So I'm just encouraging you to understand that the way all astrology channels work today on YouTube, minus a few exceptions, is we delineate as if you're pretending to look at a whole sign house because we can't do it otherwise, right? We're delineating in the whole sign house concept here on YouTube land without seeing your chart personally. There's not much else that can be done. But want to know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses? Go to my description box below. There's a free tutorial. You can sign up for that and you can learn how to cast your chart to find your sun, moon, and rising. But in that same tutorial, how to use the whole sign house system. And once you go whole sign, you never go back. Okay, also, what about Mars? Mars will ingress into the sign of Cancer, and he's going to be there for a very, very long time. As a courtesy, I think I'll just show you that, and you can screenshot this now. Now, I will not be in any great depth talking about Mars in the sign of Cancer for the simple reason that my Mars in the sign of Cancer 2.5-hour video, because it's such a rare event, Mars in the sign of Cancer video is coming out on the week of his ingress, which we'll probably see it coming out on the day he ingresses, September the 4th, which is a Wednesday in my time zone. So stay tuned for that very long deep dive video. I gave it such a great deal of attention because of a particular rarity, but I want you to know it begins this week on September 4th, Mars stepping into the sign of Cancer and Mars moving through that part of the sky all the way through until, November the 4th. And then he's going from Cancer to Leo. So we got him September the 4th to November 4th in the sign of Cancer. And then on the 4th of November, he moves into Leo, but stations to retrograde on December the 6th at 6 degrees of Leo. And then backpedals into Cancer, cusping into Cancer on January 6th. And then going direct in Cancer, February 23rd at 17 Cancer, and finally leaving Cancer into the sign of Leo again, April the 18th. So if you were to add that up, you're going to be able to see that we have almost 5 months energetically here between September 4th and April 18th. He's in Cancer except for November 4th to January 6th. So it is an important and rare and long transit, and it's doubly rare. It's completely doubly rare in another way that I'm just about to show you. So it's also extremely rare because of another feature of this story, and I'm going to grab that chart for you as well. Right. If I can find it, I will grab it for you. Okay. I will grab it when I can find it. It's back here somewhere. I wanted to show you one other feature of this, okay? Let me just stop the share for a sec. And I'll grab that chart for you. I have it, guys. It took me a while to dig it up out of the back end of my computer. Here we go. So, you might want to screenshot this if you're interested. This will be also available and shared with people on my Mars video that's coming out on the 4th of September. So stay tuned. But the only thing I'd like you to know is that, yes, we have this movement of Mars through Cancer for an extraordinary amount of time, and it's going to impact the world, et cetera. And it starts this week ahead, right? But here's the other chart. This is just showing you that the ones that are highlighted in yellow are the times in the past that we've seen Mars coming into a enduring stay in Cancer because he began to initiate a station retrograde from Leo. And so on the right, you'll see the Leo glyph at the end of the yellow, 77, 78, 45, 46 timeframes. And that's because he was doing his long stay in Cancer because he retrograded from the sign of kings and leaders. That's a whole different flavor than when he stations within the sign of Cancer and retrogrades within the sign of Cancer. And so the other dates you're seeing here, 60, 61, 1992, 93, those in particular, Mars stayed within the bound of Cancer for the entire duration of those months. It's a little bit different in September of 2007 to May of 2008 because he retrograded mostly in Cancer, but also stationed direct from Gemini. But the idea I'm trying to impart upon you about the rarity of this particular Mars long, hydroplaning, swimming pool, lap swimmer visit through Cancer is it also involves the fire sign of Leo. And it's important to me because this time, this version is in an election year. And it makes me consider how this may play out for the sign of kings and leaders. And so we have qualities of this version this week beginning on September 4th that is just like when? Just like 1977, 78, and just like 1945, 46, individually for your sign, if you're around that long, or for the world at large. Now, we're going to go ahead and remind you that we're not talking much about Mars in Cancer because of my 2.5-hour video and all signs video coming out with 10 minutes for each sign, because it's a big deal, coming out on Tuesday. So if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, you're going to want to grab a little piece of that action and make sure you don't miss the Tuesday's video. And I'll be putting out as a premiere, a Wednesday video on Wednesday the 4th. I'll probably have it out then. I'll have it out as a premiere. So you'll be able to chat with me in the chat in the morning where I'm watching the video with you and taking questions. I'll be there for most of it, not all of it. Now, so bottom line, one more thing to talk about this week. We're talking about your sign. Uranus stationing retrograde in the sign of Taurus on the star Algol, a very difficult, very intense star, but it is also a wealth star. We're also going to briefly mention that we see Venus hitting that south node in Libra, which is not the most happy place because South Node depletes some of her peacemaking goodness and friendliness and kindness and love and money stories by depleting her energy. And that conjunction is happening on Tuesday, the 3rd of this week. And you may feel it a couple of days before and a couple of days after. I'll lightly delineate that for each sign. And you also might notice that when you get to Saturday, and you can feel it as early maybe as Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Mercury will square Uranus for surprises. And it's important to remember that Uranus is retrograde. So it can be a surprise connected to events in your past rather than events that are spontaneously arising. And so Mercury in Leo square Uranus is an important narrative. And we'll want to address that because it's also connected to other dates. It's connected to 3 times regarding Joe Biden's stories. Joe Biden, when he went on Twitter and said he's not going to be running for the ballot in the fall. Joe Biden, when he did his big DNC speech on the 19th of August. And then Joe Biden now. So this is the 3rd time a Mercury square has pegged to Joe Biden's stories. So maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's a big Joe Biden announcement as well from Joe Biden or Joe Biden's team, because it would track with what we've seen so far regarding big news events and Joe Biden during the Mercury Leo, because it was retrograde. We have 3 passes, square Uranus Taurus. Uranus is opposite Joe Biden's sun. And because Uranus is opposite Joe Biden's sun, it's activating announcements about his career or his purpose or his leadership. So I would predict that it could be as soon as Thursday the 5th, but by Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, we should have some Joe Biden news stories out. They usually dump news stories on a Friday when they want no one to listen. So maybe it will be Thursday, the 5th of September. All right. So I'm an astrologer who likes to look ahead at the future. I like political, global event, climate change, things to do with the world, worldly astrology. It's called mundane astrology. Now, you may not be that kind of person. You may not like astrology about world events that's trying to predict or forecast world events. And that's okay. There's something called timestamps. You click the title. It's called chapters. You click that title and you'll be able to jump to your sign. In the comments, I courtesy pin timestamps for you. A lot of you say the timestamps are not right. No, they are right. It's because up to 2 hours after a live premiere, it takes that long for YouTube to synchronize the timestamps with the video because we've been in premiere mode and there's a long intro. So keep that in mind. And lastly, a lot of you email me or text me in the comments, or I get a lot of, where do I find a reading with you? Where do I do this with you? Well, first of all, you can't get a reading with me now. I'm pretty full, but I have a wait list. Kind of when doors open, people rush in. My Patreon community gets first access to readings with me, but I always open up a separate batch just for the general public. If you wanted to have contact with me, look in my description box. It takes you to my website. It takes you to my wait list. It takes you to my Patreon community. And then people don't seem to know, but I'll let you know. When you click the more button at the end of the title, I sound like I'm teaching kindergarten. When you click the more button at the end of the title, it's like ... more ... Then it opens up the description box of the video. And if you scroll down, it's got every website, everything, my summer sale, all the stuff I have going. It's in the description box. So you don't have to put in comments questions about this stuff. It's in the description box. All right. I have a very long and busy description box with everything about me. All right, so I'm going to show you the sky. We're going to get into hydroplaning Mars and talk about just generally the vibe of it, of course, but not for your sign. Your sign is all about that Uranus retrograde. And, Uranus retrograde is like where you are going to go inward with something. It's like downloads, insights, ahas. You're trying to make outer changes that are kind of outside the box. They're rebellious, they're freedom loving, they're eccentric. You're kind of like, sky god, Uranus, he's like lightning bolts, right, of change, and unexpected change at that. But your life is full of lightning bolts of unexpected change that seem to come from without when Uranus is moving direct. But when he's retrograde, the insights are coming in full, like big downloads, electrical sparks of aha, eureka, light bulbs on your head. You're reassessing the momentum and progress you've made with Uranus in the sign of Taurus since in 2018, where he was ingressing for a short time, a few months, but full time since 2019. We've all had Uranus in Taurus, and we're now coming to the end of that story. We're getting close to its completion. And as a result of that, we are now finalizing what we've been learning individually and collectively there. And each time he goes retrograde, which is about almost half a year of every year, we go back and we kind of calibrate, assess, reassess, but have new inner insights, inner dynamic changes about the house in which he's retrograding. One whole sign house, one whole sign meaning of your life's area. 7th house, marriage. 10th house, career and reputation and social standing. 4th house, home, real estate, property matters. 5th house, children. You get the gist. It's that 11th house, gains from your career and friends and allies. And so when you know the meanings of your houses in your whole sign natal chart, you get the idea of what planets are doing in the thematic area of the sky in which they are traveling. And you can get my PDF in my free giveaways in my description box. It's a 12 PDF, meaning in the 12 houses PDF, deep dive into each of the house meanings. Go get that. It's free. I've got a lot of things for free in my description box. Scroll all the way down, and then you can look at your own chart through the lens of house meanings. All right. So first of all, let's just briefly talk about some world events this week, and then let's move into your sign, because the Uranus thing is exciting. And I actually like doing those kinds of broader, even though it's a weekly video, giving you a heads up about the next 5 months, right, in which Uranus is retrograde in Taurus. Okay, number one, let's just talk geopolitical just for a second, and reminding yourself, I'm reminding you of something. I am not political and really not. I haven't voted in my life. I'm 62. I mean that I'm not also American. So I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a libertarian. I'm a nothing. I'm trying my best to do astrology in a predictive manner. I may have my own opinions. In this case, I really don't like Tweedledee or Tweedledum, which is I really don't like either platform, Republican or Democratic right now. It's two sides of a coin that's trying to die, right, and become a crypto or something. So honestly, I just look at it all like, where's the popcorn? I live in Canada and I am Canadian. All right. So keep that in mind before I talk anything geopolitical or political. Also, when it comes to wars in Ukraine, Russia, and the Middle East, I have many videos about this stuff. I look at cycles and patterns. Just because I don't always say something like we must condemn Hamas doesn't mean that I think that it was great what happened on October 7th. It means I'm just looking at cycles in which every time Israel gets into big neighborly problems with its local Arab neighbors, it's always when the South Node transits the ascendant of the sign of Libra, which is Israel's ascendant, which is what's been happening since last fall, which will happen again this October 2nd. These patterns do repeat. All right. So that's my disclaimer. Let's go ahead And I know, but people say, why are you doing that? Why am I doing a disclaimer? Because I have to, otherwise I have to get someone to like monitor my comments for like super troll action. All right, ciao, 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 ciao on the disclaimer. Let's go back to the chart. Let's go 15 minutes of geopolitical possibilities. And then we're going to roll through your sign for the week ahead. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, help the channel grow. I would appreciate it. All righty, let's pull up the sky, take a look at the sky chart, the way the sky actually looks in 2 dimensions instead of 3. We're always cued here, hopefully anyway, for Aries. So we're starting to look at the sky from the Aries side of reality over here, Aries, right? So a couple of thoughts I would like to share with you about the world, and then we'll do your sign. And I am only just guessing at some of this. I have already commented multiple times. Well, I got some things right. Biden stepping down, assassination attempt on Trump, female president. I saw that for the United States way back in the day, like in February, March. But, astrology is like, guesswork often, right? We're using our archetypal understanding and our template of astrological meaning to make sense of the world. And some of it we don't get completely right, because I was thinking the DNC for Kamala was going to be a pretty big deal. Very difficult sky at the T-square, lighting her up, and a very erratic lunation, square Uranus on her natal Saturn. And yet what it really turned out to be is just in the aftermath of the DNC, it's really just R.F.K. stepping into the court of Donald Trump. And that may not seem like a big deal, right? But we don't know what the long game down line of that is, because ultimately, if he can't get himself off swing state ballots and he's having trouble doing that, it means that there's still the possibility that R.F.K. will be some kind of election spoiler and complicate the final election results because of his influence on the electorate and certain states that need, close calls between Biden and Harris. Between Harris and Trump, they may not get all the electoral votes they need in order to make that 270. That could happen, I guess. So who knows? All right. So I have an R.F.K. redo video coming out sometime in the week ahead that already went to my Patreon community at the end of July. I'm reissuing it here because certain things I said in that particular chart have already seemed to come to pass. And so it was a Patreon exclusive, but I'm going to now issue it out into the world. So yeah. So the reason I say all that preamble is here's the sky. This is the week ahead. I'm jumped ahead to September the 7th, which is when we have the Uranus square. Let's just start off at the beginning of the week and make it a bit of an easy ride to watch, right? On September the 1st, we see Uranus, which is Sunday, but yes, yesterday for you guys listening today on Monday. We can see that on September the 1st, Uranus will be stationing retrograde, not direct, retrograde. And there you go. And we move forward. And by the time we get to September 2nd, which is Monday, he is now retrograde at 27 degrees of Taurus on fixed star Algol, who sits at 26 degrees and 30 minutes of Taurus. Algol is a star that is also connected to things that are like decapitation, losing one's head. But if you're a head of state, then you could lose your head of state position, for example. And Algol was opposing the son of Joe Biden, and Joe Biden stepped down. But also for Donald Trump, Algol is conjunct his natal midheaven. And so with this retrograde going over Donald Trump's midheaven, there can be indications that Donald Trump is going to change course, but maybe he's going to rethink or go back or have a new idea over something he's already done. That is a possibility. And because he's gone direct over Trump's midheaven, now is retrograding over Trump's midheaven, and then we'll go back over Trump's midheaven, right? That's a whole Trump video separate. I won't do it now. It indicates a lot of change and turbulence and unexpected results, unexpected developments for Donald Trump connected to his career, social standing, and reputation, including that surprise finding that you can't indict or charge a president in office for actions he committed while doing his job as the commander in chief. And that Supreme Court decision was a part of the shocking surprise of Uranus, maybe over his midheaven, as well as other matters that are pretty surprising, like almost being assassinated. And because his midheaven is in the 10th house of the high noon of the public eye, and because Mars and Uranus co-joined on Algol, the star, on his midheaven on July the 15th, it was predicted by me and other people he would be in harm's way a week before and a week before July the 15th. And indeed, I said the word assassination, and then I thought I was going to get deplatformed, and I went, oops. So he survived, but he still has all this erratic energy on the top of his career point and his public reputation point. And so in a social standing point. And so there's a lot of intense shift energy going on that begins to be re-beginning this week, as on September 1st through to January 30th, we have a retrogradation of Mars over Trump's midheaven. And I'll be covering more of that on a separate video about Donald Trump, should he not step down from his running in the election, which sounds very unlikely. It's just that his health looks really erratic. Certain things in his chart look really erratic. I'm not sure if it's a health challenge, but it feels more like that's likely. And if he has to step away, well, what's the next big surprise in the jack in the box about how that could possibly work in this close proximity to an election? I mean, if he steps away, he's not just ill for a minute, right? You have to have some serious illness. Okay, what else is happening in the sky? I would talk a little bit here about Kamala Harris, only just a short bit. Kamala Harris is born with her Saturn sitting at 27 degrees or so of the sign of Aquarius. And 27 Taurus is square 27 Aquarius. And that's where the full moon happened as well. The Aquarian full moon on her Saturn in her ninth house. Her midheaven is in the 10th house, but her Aquarian Saturn is in the very tail end of her ninth house. So Saturn is funny because, the ninth house can be the sage, advisors, magicians, astrologer, priests, and hand of the king. And a lot of people with big placements in the ninth house end up doing, the power behind the power, the administrative, the one behind the scenes. VP was a perfect place for that Saturn. But she's got a chironic wound going on her midheaven. And it's really possible that chironic wound is a big activation that's still playing out for her. Now, the reason I'm bringing, because, Saturn is moving over her midheaven, which can bring authority and power, but also difficulty and constriction and heaviness. So keep that in mind. It's not the easiest place for her story. And she's born with a Chiron placement with her midheaven. So a wound to one's reputation or career in this lifetime. Because of Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus, and her Saturn here, she's getting a lot of flack from this Uranus to her Saturn, just as Trump is getting it to his midheaven, just as Joe Biden is having it opposing his sun. So every time we see this energy of Uranus not just landing across the sun from Joe Biden, 27 Scorpio, squaring Kamala Harris Saturn, and also going over the midheaven of Donald Trump, we are noting that this is influencing all of these characters between September 1st and January 30th in a way that could be very surprising, because we're going back over old ground that was gained. And in the time that Uranus went direct, Trump survived an assassination attempt and chose a VP and pulled in R.F.K. Kamala Harris was put up on the ballot to replace Joe Biden, and Joe Biden stepped down. So those are stories that could reverse course in some way, as Uranus, the guy who brought it into place going forward, now goes backwards. So possibly those stories are going to be important. And also, just as the week ahead goes through the progression, what about the South Node Venus narrative? This is going to be Venus co-joining with the South Node on Tuesday, the 3rd of September, but we will feel it all the way from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then on the waning end, Wednesday and Thursday. So it's kind of infusing the whole week with Venus, the goddess of peace, and in Libra, treaties, with the South Node of letting go or surrender or disappointment or taking the goodness away. In Hellenistic astrology, when the South Node touches a benefic, it takes the goodness of the planet away. So Venus is a benefic and her goodness is diminished. And that could indicate, because Israel is a nation with a Libra rising in the third, maybe 23 degrees of Libra, because Israel is a nation that was involved in the eclipse of last year in October, that was at 21 Libra with a South Node eclipse there, and that was the beginning of the war. This is also another story that connects to the chart of Israel. And it's really probably something to do with a failure for peace, but I could be wrong. Debatable. I mean, possibly Venus can pull off peace despite the South Node, but maybe it's peace with, it's like a half full cup. It's like there's peace, but it's not great. So it may be a ceasefire rather than a peace treaty, maybe some kind of conciliations that really don't work for any of the parties involved, that kind of thing. And of course, Israel, and you would see that maybe this week, that's what I'm saying, when it's acute, when Venus and the South Node could combine, because later in the month, on the 29th of September, Mercury will join with the sun on the South Node in a cazimi, or in a conjunction to the sun. So this spot gets reactivated at the end of September. And over here, we have in this part of the sky, the Aries part of the sky, we have the energy of the open enemies of the United States, of the nation of Israel, the ones they can witness as their enemies. Okay, looking over there, enemy Iran, or enemy Hamas, or Lebanon, Hezbollah, whatever. So we always see problems with your enemies, whether you're personal or global, when the North Node increases them. The North Node adds volume, adds depth and width and breadth, increases, inflames, intensifies the open enemies of the nation of Israel, at the detriment and loss to some kind of quality of Israel's, national identity. In this case, of course, what happened, the South Node transiting through here, hasn't looked good on the nation of Israel's public reputation at all, because it has made for the majority of the world Israel look like a pariah state, an ethno state with genocidal intent, or something like that. Now, don't forget, I am just giving you general interpretations of Venus South Node, because it is an astrology story, not necessarily my opinion. But if 3/4 of the world would say the words I just said, and the rest of you, the last quarter, don't, remember, you're in the minority. Okay, in the comments, just take a chill pill. It's interesting for me that the nation of Israel's fourth house, which is this is its fourth house. This is its ascendant 1, 2, 3, 4. Is where Pluto has headed. And that means it's the home, the property, the boundaries, and the borders of its land as a nation. It's also the party in opposition to the ruling party. So right now it's a Likud party, conservative consortium with Netanyahu. Whoever would oppose that from this side of the coin down here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the opposite party. So this is in Cancer. That's the ruling party, which represents Netanyahu and his cohort. But over here, where Pluto is going, power to the opposing party or opposing forces within the nation of Israel's political system against Netanyahu, who knows? But when Pluto's retrograde, and he will be retrograde until October 11th, in a place that he's finishing old business up, right? What could he bring forth? In a retrograde, he's bringing the past and digging up the dirt. So there's deep revelations or insights or exposures or something like that of things that have to do with the either the opposing party to the leading party, but also just to do with things to do with land, property, real estate, and territory in the nation of Israel. And we will have Mercury coming into a square, which is a difficult energy in the sign of Libra, when Mercury enters around the 26th of the month into Libra, and will be 26th of September into Libra, and will be squaring that retrograde Pluto. I can pretty well guarantee the last week of September into the first week of October, there's a lot of intense news stories to do with the land, the boundaries, the borders, and the property of Israel. Now, because it's Pluto and because he's retrograde until October 11th, it's often like digging up the secrets, the dirt, the sludge, the toxic stuff. It's like toxic waste, super fun stuff. What's really underneath that soil that now we have a neighborhood built on? So one example I have, and it doesn't mean this is what will happen, but I can only imagine it's a good example, right? What if there is some dirt about the way the war actually started, or there's some, kind of what would have been a conspiracy theory becomes a reality, like, did the IDF know that there might be an incursion of Hamas into its territory, for Israel's territory, which they didn't, for some reason, take preventative action on? Or another like slimy story under the surface of this could be something like, I'm just making stories up, The Ben Gurion Canal is a plan that Israel's put in place and stamped a seal of architectural approval on, I think in 2023 in the summer, but it's been in play for a few years to create a canal from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. But the problem is that canal, which would rival the Suez Canal and bring in billions of dollars of revenue to Israel per year, it's easier if they go through northern Gaza than if they try to go up to the top of their own, territory. And to slice through northern Gaza, they have to have rights to get through northern Gaza. So, for example, they bifurcated Gaza into two bits and do not want to agree in a peace treaty or ceasefire to let the displaced Gazan people from the north, who are now wretchedly living in the south where there's no infrastructure, to return to their homes in the north. What's left of their homes in the north, or what's left of the hospitals or schools or universities, all been bombed or demolition out of existence. So if you kept the north of Gaza, you could just do your Ben Gurion Canal straight through the north of Gaza. I'm only saying that because when I see Pluto retrograde squaring Mercury and Justice Libra, I'm like, what news stories are going to emerge about Israel and land and occupation and territory and war? We'll see that in the month, end of September, maybe first week of October, or just horrendous war stories, honestly. Finally, Pluto's moving through home property and homeland of Israel. He's the god of death. That doesn't sound great. Israel's in danger from Iran. Israel's got neighbors that are angry. Hezbollah's, a wasp nest on one end of the country. So it's possible they're just going to have a lot of problems, to do with death and destruction on their own home territory because of this retrograde of Pluto. It's both secrets and revelations between September 1st and October the 11th, and Pluto going direct October 11th to November 19th is anyone's guess. Okay, anyone's guess. So those are world events, and I think I'm going to move on to your sign. And what about R.F.K, 29 degrees Mercury right here on top of Pluto, and his sun at 27 degrees of Capricorn? It's interesting to me that R.F.K is still in the game, wants a seat at the table so that he can enact his Make America Healthy Again program. And so what could be going on for him to have Pluto sitting on Mercury, which is an extremely powerful combination, as he stepped back into the race. And he stepped back into he backed Trump before Pluto entered into Capricorn. So it's very possible, as Pluto goes direct on October 11th, there are changes in the story of what R.F.K is up to. Because if he can't get off of all of those ballots, and by the time November 19th happens and Pluto is leaving Capricorn, we may see some complications, because I called R.F.K the Great Disruptor in my Patreon video that went out around the end of July, and I still think he's the Great Disruptor. So that's my take on that story as well. Now, I'm not going to do any more global and world politics. We're going to go for your sign. I just saw my recording glitch. I wonder if I'm having some kind of issues with my laptop or with my internet. All right, so we're going to do your sign, listen for your sun, your moon, your rising sign. And I already explained why earlier, which one is best. So listen to it that way. And let's go through each sign. And we're going to focus on a little bit on the South Node Venus dip that's happening in the beginning of this week on Tuesday, give or take a day or two before. And we may cover the surprise of Saturday when Mercury squares Uranus. I already mentioned in the global field. That's probably another Biden story, because that is always tied to Biden so far. And then we're going to also do something to do with, so we're going to do the South Node Venus for your sign. And we're going to talk about the Uranus retrograde. Okay, let's get going. We're going to start, of course, with you Aries folk. Aries. All right, Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's go ahead and delineate what this week looks like for you. Go back, of course, and watch my, other videos of note of the Virgo new moon, right? And go watch the Mars. Well, you will be able to watch the Mars on Wednesday moving into the sign of Cancer video. And so in the meantime, we won't redo those. And my Pluto in watch the videos that I already announced in the beginning that are already out. Let's go ahead and talk the other stories of the week ahead. First of all, It's around Tuesday that Venus will bump into the South Node. And when she bumps into the South Node, there is this feeling of hardship or difficulty in matters of love and money. In your case, it is in the house of your significant long-term love story. That's your 7th. So it's possible that your partner may go through a difficult time, or that your someone of your clients, audience, marketplace type folks in your life, or a business partner may go through some loss, some difficulty, some kind of hardship. However, it can also just kind of flavor your long-term marriage type house with a bit of a Debbie Downer vibe around the time of Tuesday. You want to give that maybe a day or two before and after. It's not the most easy time in your significant and long-term love. What about Uranus moving into his retrograde? Yes, between September 1st and January 30th. Well, reminding you that he's in Taurus, and that's a money house for you. This is your earnings, your savings, and your resources. This is your financial wellness. It can also be foods that you ingest and things that you put in your nose or mouth. So, and your values, I suppose, but that's a psychological interpretation. It's the resources you need to feed yourself and to stay alive, basically. So your financial resources are here. And, think about it this way. Uranus is going back over some old ground that he's already traveled. So you're looking at it through the lens of the 27th to the 23rd degree. And that represents a time frame. And in fact, let me grab that time frame for all of us. I should have done that already. So you guys are always first. I see what I'm missing when I'm doing you. So hang on a sec. So it's basically going back to the middle of May, like May the 15th. That's the shadow territory. So, let's go ahead and delineate that as we go through each sign. So we're talking about your May the 15th timeframe, things that you were up to, since May 15th to September 1st. You're going to go back and reassess, but more than that, rethink, illuminate it. Think of a light bulb on your head, like in a cartoon Eureka or a download or insight. You're going to tool through money matters and really rethink the way you save, spend, the way you invest your longer wealth stories. It's going to shift you there. And it's also with that wealth star Algol in a money house. So there is a lot going on for a lot of Aries folk who are really looking at their life through sort of breaking outside of a box and breaking out of a mold when it comes to the way they accumulate resources and how they accumulate wealth. And so whatever you've been up to since May the 15th through to September 1st, now you're kind of backpedaling a bit and you will be reassessing it. And it will take all the way until May of next year for you to complete the post shadow as well. So we're really talking about an energetic shift that's going to take almost through till next May to complete this story. So you're backpedaling and you're rethinking till January 30th. Now, this can also be erratic and electric and exciting things as well. And exciting electric things from your past bringing you financial wellness. Electric, exciting things coming into your story, connecting you to new food styles, because how we eat and what we put in our mouth is the second house. And you always said, I'd never be vegan, I'll never be a meat eater, I'll never be a carnivore. But every time you get a retrograde here, any of that can change. So you're going to rethink your strategy around the kinds of foods you eat in order to be healthy. Reminding you that on the weekend, let's say Friday through Sunday, Mercury squares Uranus from Leo, and there's a surprise coming your way that may or may not be connected to events that happen around I think it was around July the 16th and also around August 19th. But there's a little bit of a boom, a moment of surprise or unexpected developments, but connected to things in your past, with Mercury squaring Uranus on the weekend. Again, I say you could even feel it Thursday. We could say Thursday through to Sunday, but with an emphasis on Saturday. What is this unexpected news story? This unexpected news story might be connected to your children, to your entrepreneurial business, or even to things like lottery wins or money through speculation. So those stories can happen in a forward momentum way as Mercury he is in direct motion. It goes into a conversation with retrograde Uranus. So how those two connect is going to be something you can only see in hindsight, but surprises are here. And Mercury's direct. So the surprises help you move forward in life, but it's pulling things from the past. And again, food style, money, resources, savings, and earning stories as well. Generally speaking, having Pluto in your 10th house in a broad trine this week to Uranus retrograde in your second is indicating that you're really leveling up in your career. You want nothing but the last gasp of success for your own potency and power, transformation and regeneration of who you really are in this life. And that's sort of infusing the whole week ahead as well. Because with that Uranus there, he does, after his station's direct, go into an immediate trine to retrograde Pluto. So it's kind of like really powering you up, either in terms of your wealth, power, influence, or authority in your work, connected as well to your money, connected as well to fifth house matters. Surprise. And possibly as well, last thing I'd say, as Uranus retrogrades in your second house. And when he does this retrograde, he's also connecting his dots in some way, perhaps, to what Venus is doing in your seventh house. So there's an inversion here, meaning Venus doesn't witness Uranus, but there's some changes that could happen because in her own kingdom, there's a rethinking of financial matters, and she's got her attention on the house of partners. So other people may be emerging in this weekend through the months that follow, connecting you to other people, business partners, love partners, allies who can help you with your long range, outside the box rethinking of your way in which you either eat or make money. Eat or make money. It goes down to the simple things in life. I'm having a day. Stop the share. I'll be right back. All right, let's go on to Taurus. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's all about you because obviously this is happening in the sign of Taurus. So sun, career and purpose, moon, body, home, nest, safety, mind, emotions, and of course, a rising sign. It's like everything connected to you, right? Because you see your life through the lens of your rising sign as a character in the game of life. So what I'd say is that you're definitely going through a lot of shift, especially if you're a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from like 21 degrees to 29 degrees of Taurus, especially with the retrograde Uranus. So we're going to start off by pointing out that you've got Uranus in the house of you. That's what I'm trying to get at. And I'm like, wow, that's a big deal, guys. It's not like a small thing. You're going to be finishing that up pretty soon when Uranus moves into the sign of Gemini, which is going to happen in 2025, 26. I would say for you, you're looking at this as a week. We start at the beginning with the Venus South Node conjunction happening on Tuesday the 3rd, give or take a day or two before and after, some kind of release, loss, surrender, disappointment around pets, rental situations, especially with Mercury here, rental contracts, rental homes, rental properties, maybe things to do with a loss of a pet, maybe something to do with news of a loss of a pet, but also maybe something Monday, well, let's say Tuesday, but a day or two before and after, to do with a disappointment or a difficult situation with a colleague, coworker, or something in your work and work routines or health and health routines. But it's also connected to a Mercury energetically in the fourth house. So, some news could come through to do with your home life vis-a-vis your work life. It may just be a little bit of a downer for you. Like you thought you could work from home 4 days a week and now it's only 2, something mild like that. The energy of the South Node here as well, it can be disappointing or difficult energies when it comes to dating. Like if you're dating somebody, this could be a rough patch around Tuesday. As we look at Uranus, though, this week ahead is the big picture story because I've got all the other ones covered in longer videos. The Mars ingress will be happening here in Cancer. We're going to talk about what does it mean for you that Uranus is not only retrograde, but retrograde in a part of the sky that is between the degrees of 27 and 23. That means you Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, approximately 21 degrees of Taurus to 29 degrees of Taurus can really feel this energy very strongly, where other Tauruses in earlier degrees have been feeling it in other retrograde periods that have been occurring since 2018. Okay, so it's basically the last 10 degrees of Taurus. It's your turn. You guys are on. You feel this aha, inner light, pull back, figure things out energetically kind of vibe. You could look at this as well as he's retrograding from what was going forward from about May the 15th. What things were you initiating that were breaking outside of a box, busting forward, breaking the rules, moving on, that were playing out around May the 15th until the retrograde September the 1st. And so September 1st to January 30th, you're going over old ground, new ideas, new revising it. But usually I always find the Uranus retrograde gives us a big kind of declarative inner change where we inside out it. Circumstances don't change us. We change from within, and our circumstances change from without. So the inner changes inside of you to do with, a kind of electric charge of insight is what it's really for. As he retrogrades, just shortly after, he goes into a trine to Pluto this week. So there's a lot of flow and an earth trine between Pluto and the house of father figures, higher education, things to do with foreign lands and foreign shores. Something could be really powering up there in your life this week ahead. Also maybe powering up when it comes to legal matters or courts and court cases as well. With this placement, you might rethink yourself, right? Like, who am I to be in this world? If it's a sun, your career, your moon, your home. But if you're a Taurus rising, everything about your identity, you're reassessing, especially those Tauruses in the last 10 degrees of Taurus. I want to bring your attention to the idea here that you already experienced this energy that comes up on Saturday. Now, you could feel it this week already, maybe Thursday through to Sunday, of Mercury in a square to the planet Uranus from Leo. That square has been already received by you twice. You have received this square back in July, on the July 21st timeframe, then August the 18th, and you always want to give or take a day. And now coming up September the 7th, which is Saturday, give or take a few days. So, Mercury brings news, Mercury brings ideas, Mercury brings, understanding intellectually of something to do with your family of origin, your childhood, your home and real estate and land and property matters connected to you having the big insight. Mercury is a guy of marketing, merchandising, selling, commerce. And this is also Venus, by the way, in the house of indebtedness. And if there are indebted in situations like loans or something, where you're indebted and you're indentured and you're a servant of a loan or something, there's something going on here this week, particularly around the 7th of September, give or take 2 or 3 days before or after, where you're going to have a change of circumstance. And yet you're also having a change of insight about it. And go back to what was going on around those kinds of issues in your life, July 21st, August 18th, and September 7th. You may have news from your mother, news from a family of origin member, anyone you grew up with in your household home, phone calls, text messages, and news. But again, it's a practically fourth house matter. It does represent land, home, and real estate. And you did have Mercury in here, before he stationed retrograde also. So this is a place that's been seasoned by Mercury during the month of July. So what is going on here is that you're really kind of finalizing a story. And so for some of you, it could be to do with literally just buying, selling, and buying and selling property or refinancing property or something like that with Mercury in the tabulator in this part of the sky. And once Mars moves into your 3rd house this week, and he does flow to Venus in your 6th house, some of you may have a change of neighborhood connected to a new property arrangement as well. And it can be rental. And that's not here yet, but Mars gets there Wednesday. And that's a long story that lasts 4 months, but it's the beginning of this week ahead through to about the 3rd week of September. So I'd say from September 4th to the 3rd week of September, a possibility of packing up, moving, or traveling somewhere. But it's also connected to work. So learning for work, traveling for work, or maybe something to do with a change of property, rental agreements, and home, change of neighborhood for some of you. Okay, let's go on to the next sign because I've got a client, so I can't be too long and I'm taking too long. I can see that. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is the energetic of the week. We'll talk about that Uranus transit for you. Before we do, what about Venus South Node transit here? It can only happen twice in every 18 years. And so here comes Venus on the South Node, and she's saying something along the lines of, what do you Geminis need to let go of in your relationship or grip on a child? What did I just do? I paused the screen share. I paused the screen share, and I think I'm glitching. I have no idea that I paused. It says I paused the screen share. I didn't click a button there. All right. And so let's get back. Holy man. And so here we go. So look to this Tuesday, a day or two before and after, to be some disappointments around romance, sexuality, your children, fertility, things to do with entrepreneurial and creative projects, just feeling like there's a drain and things are going downhill. Like you're really not feeling it there. This is not great. If you want to meet somebody new under this, that's different. If you're dating, you can meet a soulmate love story with Jupiter here this week. And the South Node Venus means soulmate love story, or a conception of a child that's a past life narrative and a very karmic conception at that. So those are the exceptions to the rule. In the meantime, what about the transit of Uranus, especially vis-a-vis Mercury, who will square Uranus on the weekend? Well, number one, Uranus is going to retrograde in the 27 to 23 degree mark of your 12th house, and this is going to take you back over old territory that you've been traveling through direct motion since about the middle of May. And so what you've been doing here is having ahas, insights, declarative enlightenment moments. This is an enlightenment transit as well. And so you might have also some big breakthroughs in your money stories, or just generally in how you make or source income from far off foreign shores and foreign revenue and foreign companies as well. I have a progressed Gemini sun. I had a mini enlightenment episode since middle of May, but I also had a big boost in my ad revenue on YouTube. And that's a foreign company from my Canadian residents. So all said and done, these have been places of exciting, exhilarating, forward change and direction. Now we go back, May 15th has started up. Now we're going back over old ground through to January of next year, January 30th, where you're retracting the outer change for the inner. Now, this is good for dreams, insights and dreams. It's good for meditations. It's good for the kinds of electric charges of, then you met Jesus on the road, Saul met Jesus on the road to Tarsus or something, like big energies on the enlightenment front, if that's your cup of tea. When he's retrograde here, also, there may be unexpected, surprising developments regarding hospitals and jails and prisons. But, it can mean somebody that could be in a hospital setting, and it might be surprising for you, a little shocking that that's happening. Just a possibility, and by no means a probability at all. One of the things about Mercury, Uranus retrograde, don't forget, you're going to lose this whole transit that's been in place since 2018. It's an exquisite one for literally doing the old, divine downloads and getting in touch with the Akashic records and finding information from transpersonal, non-ordinary reality consciousness states of being. So use it as he goes retrograde through to next January, because that's where you're most liable to do it. It's not the outer changes, the inner changes, your inner mind, it's your inner revelations that are going to count. Keep that in mind. You can be original, inventive, and outside the box at any writing project, creative project, or art project, or anything you're doing behind the scenes in that Taurus part of the sky, where you need to take a time out and downtime. Your originality, insight, and aha factor is over the top. So engaging in those projects can be very, very, very good for you at this time. I purposely waited to record my All Signs 2025 videos, I think, till this retrograde began, so I could use my inner genius doing that instead of have the erratic energy of this transit. What about the weekend? That's square to Mercury. Well, you want to go back to these dates, guys. You want to go back to what was going on in your storyline, July 21st, August the 18th, and September 7th coming up, because we had those squares in the threesome. Well, it's possibly all connected. And Mercury's he's always about news and information. So news and information around neighbors, aunts, uncles, cousins, and siblings, things to do with younger sibling, one under you in particular, coming through your sky, but also travel and disruption of travel. If you had travel plans especially regarding neighbors, cousins, and siblings, or something like that. They may have been disrupted for you during this transit of July 21st, August 18th, September 7th is back. May have been some unexpected developments regarding writing projects, unexpected developments regarding news and information. Coming from social media, online world, blogging, writing, etc. If you're somebody who markets, sells, and merchandises stuff, especially online, Mercury here may have made some changes in your plans regarding what you want to do there, because maybe you get deeper insight and direction from this wealth star Uranus combo here, July 21st, August 18th, and September 7th. So yet another shift in that area. And with a retrograde Uranus, stuff that you've already been thinking about from the past are going to be repurposed for writing, communicating, traveling, how you live your daily life, the way you want to live it in your everyday life, your places you go, the people you see, big changes here as well. And teaching and learning, any skills-based learning and teaching, you're redefining it. Are you having changes in that? On a practical note, just to give you an example, I was going to teach Sky Reader on the beginning of September, but after July 21st, I made a revision of my plans, right? So, but I was surprised by it. Like I'm not going to go into why I changed it, but I did. Okay, so there you go. So that's the week ahead. Don't forget, Mars is entering into your money house, and you're going to be really working that. So get ready for the money story of Mars in Cancer coming out on my Wednesday video, all signs, deep dive, 2-hour video, and a lot of content for each sign. You don't want to miss it. Moving into the next story. What about Cancer, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign? So we start the week off with an energetic of the South Node Venus is really dominant and on Tuesday, and you'll feel it even Monday through to maybe Wednesday, even Thursday. What does it mean to have this energetic of loss or disappointment here? Well, you may be disappointed by something in the home that's not beautiful. Maybe you have to surrender the old carpet. Maybe the paint job didn't work out. But also love in the home, kindness in the home, and friendship in the home is strained. And cordial and fun and good times in the home might not be found Monday through to Thursday. It could be a bit of a feeling of loss or downer or surrender in that area of your life, especially with women in the home or women from your childhood as well. As we move into the week, we will notice, of course, Mars does get ingressed into Cancer here on Wednesday the 4th, where he'll be for frigging ever till next April, minus a retrograde dip from your second house. Well, I'm not going to cover that all now because I've covered it in my deep dive Mars video. So go listen to that coming up on Wednesday, the 4th of this week. But just know that you're going to be really driven, really focused, really ambitious, really successful if you listen to your inner swordsman that tells you what to cut out of your life and what to keep. And that's a new power you're going to have in your life, guys. You Cancers haven't had that power, as I said in the intro, the same old way since 1977, 78. Also this week ahead, what about Uranus going retrograde on Sunday? So we start the week with this retrogradation. Technically, it means you're going to go back over some insights in your inner life to do with your relationships with an elder sibling, one above you, or they're having an electrical charge of change in their life, or there's sort of an insight, redo, rethink, revise, through the inner world of your insights that you could have about the way you gain money in your career, because you gain money in this house. It's second from your 10th, and that's your earnings of the 10th. So maybe the money you're making in your career direction with Chiron in your 10th, looking for true purpose, for example, or key to purpose and work, you're definitely looking like you might make some exciting, exhilarating changes. And with Algol at the set point at the beginning of this, maybe some very big prosperity up levels as well. This is a deeper, longer energy. You want to dive into it, slowly. It's September 1st to January 30th that this retrograde takes place. And it takes place between 27 and 23 degrees. That indicates a Cancer rising sun or moon between 20 and 29 degrees are really getting the most juice out of this retrogradation. All right, it's your turn. You guys have more of it, but all Cancers will indeed feel it. And lastly, of course, I talked about Pluto has moved this week retrograde through to mid-November into your seventh house, putting a premium on your long-term committed love relationship, intensity of growth and rebirth and redirection and conflict and chaos that gives you regeneration even in a long-term committed love relationship, impacting, of course, you Cancers in the last 4 or 5 degrees, 20, let's go 26 to 29 Cancer. You're getting a lot of intense energy going on in your significant long-term love relationship. No way, two ways about it. That's the story that you have to deal with. Look for it to start up in this week ahead, but you've got a long game for that one. It's through till November the 19th. You can go listen to my Pluto video that's already out, the deep dives into how this might impact you in your marriage and significant relationships house. And go for the weekend. Saturday, Mercury from your money and earnings house will square Uranus on an LL star, and also it's backtracking. So gains from your career, maybe from the past, or insights about how to gain career momentum and wealth, Algol, are showing up with information and conversations and news from your second house of earnings and resources and money. Now, if you make money in connection with an elder sibling, there's some exciting developments here. But if it's not that, then there's just career gains in general are having a shift of gears. And you would connect the dots of July 21st, August the 18th, and now September 7th about how in the 3 parts of this story, you've been trying to wealth up in your 11th house of career gains, maybe connected to friends, allies, benefactors, elder sibling, or just your own efforts in your career. And some in communications is taking place in the wealth and earnings house each separate time. This is good for, buying and selling as well. Anything you want to get rid of, sell it, buy it. You can do that anytime Mercury is here. But where there's shocking surprises around opportunities for buying and selling things, whatever they could be, July 21st, August 18th, September 7th. Well, we're back onto the last iteration of this story right here. Good luck with that. Let me know how it goes. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, we start off this week with the South Node and Venus connecting on Tuesday, the 3rd, and we can feel it a little bit before and a couple days after. What is going on is a disappointment, a loss, a difficulty, or something fated connected to a younger sibling, nieces, aunts, uncles, cousins, travel opportunities, learning opportunities, or something to do with your social media online life, or something going on in your daily neighborhood energies, the area in which you operate on the daily. Now, it is Venus, and that can represent a female and a female childhood friend as well, and some disappointment, loss, or surrender, or a younger sibling, one under you. You may also be looking at a disappointment or a shift regarding neighborhood and, possibly a move. Not for sure a move, but possibly a move, because when Mars enters into your 12th house, where he's going to be for a very long time, starting on the 4th, which is Wednesday, you're going to see a lot of flow or trine to domicile. And so you may be looking at a change of home and neighbor and neighborhood, and you may have some early inklings of that this week ahead, starting as early as Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. What I also would point to here is that Uranus is going to be retrograding, and he starts that retrogradation on Sunday, the 1st of September, and he begins a journey through to next January 30th retrograde between 27 and 23 degrees, indicating some changes in your 10th house of career, social standing, and reputation. Now, you've already been experiencing this Uranus here for years, right? Since 2018. So you know what it's like to have a lot of erratic change and shift and ups and downs and career stories and job stories and reputation stories. Nothing new. But this is the degrees of 27 to 23. And that's going to impact you, Leos, who are 20 to 29 degrees of Leo the most strongly, where it's your turn to have some major events backpedal here. With Uranus retrograde, it's really the inner work that you're doing to make the changes in the outer. So how are you going to make some inner work decisions and changes through the electric lights of insight, ahas, and understanding of what you need to change up here? And you may surprise yourself, because everything about Uranus is always surprising and outside the box of what we think is possible. And you're going to do some career reassessments in that part of your sky. This is an energy that began in the middle of May when Uranus was going direct through the same degree. So it's your shadow period, May 15th until the turnaround September 1st. What was going on in your career direction, May 15th onward, that you're ready to reassess and redo and rethink and revise from the insights and inwards direction. You're not likely to make outer changes until after January 30th, most likely. Okay. And there's a story going on with the Mercury that is a three-parter, right? Mercury in Leo has been moving here in the sign of you. You are all like on top of your communications, your ideas, your mind is alert. You've got some fire in the mind. That's great. And when you go back to July 21st, when Mercury was direct here, and then August 18th, when he was retrograde in Leo, and then September 7th, those 3 times, September 7th is Saturday, he is in a square to Uranus. So in all of those times, Uranus was in direct motion. In August, he was retrograde. Mercury, it's a hot mess. But honestly, there may be things going on in your mind, your ideas, your communications regarding career, regarding reputation, that and success and wealth, Algol, that you've been considering and reconsidering and considering again. July the 21st, August 18th, and September the 7th. So go back to those time frames. And with Jupiter, like bounty in your career, great gains are here through till next June. And who are these friends, allies, or elder sibling who up levels your financial bounty from your career? That's the direction to look. That is your yay you moment. These are raises and promotions and advancements and more money in your career through till next June. And we got cooperation from Mercury here going on this week. So look for some insights, look for some divine downloads. How are you going to up level your career and reputation's story in order to get a lot more wealth generated here? And of course, we do have Pluto retrograding in your 6th house. Go watch my deep dive Capricorn Pluto retrograde video pinned to the top of my channel. I'm not going to go through it all over again, but you feel this breathing energy of Pluto in your 6th house of health protocols and work routines and pets. And he'll be here until November 19th. Not to scare you, but some of you with eldering pets may lose an eldering pet as Pluto retrogrades at the tail end of Capricorn, a story that is coming to an end in something to do with pets, rental situations, and work and health matters. I've got to go faster, guys. I got a client coming up. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is a story for you where you are going to be experiencing this week's South Node Venus dip in the storyline, maybe a disappointment in your money earnings, or something to do with a willingness and a readiness to let go of a food style or a substance you ingest. With Mercury here, some kind of conversation, communication allows for you to release that a bad habit, addiction, or pattern, maybe this week ahead, maybe around sometime between Monday and Thursday. Also, some disappointments could occur when it comes to matters to do with financial resources and savings as well, or some surrender or loss regarding those themes. With Uranus going retrograde since Sunday, in your 9th house between 27 and 23 degrees. If you're a Virgo, with your Virgo-ness between 20 and 29 Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, you get a lot of momentum from this Uranus retrograde. So Uranus is retrograding over territory he covered since May 15th. So things you've been doing in your 9th house since May 15th. Academics, universities, colleges, foreign shores and travel, visas, legal and court matters to do with your father figures, matters to do with your book publishing as well. That kind of thing is going back for revision, review, and revising inwardly with new ideas, insights, and ahas. On a practical note, though, you've been in this territory since May 15th, and as Uranus retrogrades, it's not just about going back over old ground, but having new insights about it. So what could that look like between September 1st and January 30th? Now, also speaking here, Uranus is retrograding and Mars is about to move. Of course, I covered that in my deep dive video coming out September 4th, 2.5 hour video for each your sign. It's deep, deep. But with Mars getting ready to spend a lot of time in your 11th house, you can pretty well expect that this week shows you the face of losing friends. Some of you, your friends are distant from you, or you're distant from them. There's a cutting off in regards of social groups, social circles, and friendship groups by choice or not choice. Sometimes it's just geographical issues, but you'll see the beginning of a long weaning, cutting, ending, and severing with certain groups of belonging and friendships. And you see the beginning of that opening up this Wednesday, the 4th of September. And there are other meanings to this as well. You're going to be driven to create great gains in your career and work your ass off, but cover that on the video that comes out Wednesday. And finally, let's talk a little bit Pluto. So Pluto's going back into your romance house for the last few degrees. Last degree for until November 19th. There's a big transformation and turnarounds in sexual and romantic love stories. Also regarding your own experience with joy, fun, play, and pleasure, enthusiasm. You're really wanting to do one last transformation. What brings you pleasure? What brings you joy? What brings you deep enthusiasm? Some of you, if you're in a romantic relationship, especially with Saturn, the hardship could be coming to a close, or a turmoil, or a transformation in a long-term committed love story with this Pluto transit. Go watch my deep dive Pluto journey transit video. It's already out. You might enjoy it and get more dive into it than I can possibly cover here. Next sign is Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. You've got to look at the sky through the lens of the beginning of the week, South Node, Venus narrative. How are you feeling like you've got to let go of something yourself, something you want, something you desire, something you need to surrender, something you need to let go of? That's simple. It's acute on Tuesday, but you may be feeling it Monday through Thursday. And then we move into the next story of the sky, and we're going to talk about Uranus retrograde. So starting Sunday, he moves retrograde through to January 30th. This is 27 to 23 degrees of Taurus. This is going to take you back over old ground from May 15th, when he was going direct through your 8th house of chunky money. So there's things to do with inheritances, things to do with shared money with your spouse or long-term partner, investment monies that you were considering May 15th through, or changes were happening there, May 15th through to September 1st. Now you're going to reassess that, come up with new ideas, rethink it, have some electric charge of inward insight, including into your own psychology and your own inner self, because this is a house of psychology and insight into your character and your identity on this game board of life. It's your egoic house, and it's a very karmic house, and you may be backpedaling over some old karmic issues as well, whatever that might mean. Certainly it is a money house. It's on Algol fixed star, and you may get wealthy off of this. And if you're going to get wealthy, well, Jupiter in the 9th house means money from a lucky money from a father figure, or Pluto retrograding in your 4th house, legacy wealth from mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, or people up the line. And this retrograde could be bringing money from the past from those people into your current time frame. Maybe you always knew you were going to get some money. The trust fund doors are opening. Maybe a real estate property sale or purchase is going to emerge as a great idea between September 1st and January the 30th. As well, Libra, you have a condition here of Uranus in a square to Mercury, which repeats the following dates: July 21st, August 18th, final past September 7th. Always bracket it by a few days, right? Well, what were you doing? Communication from an elder sibling, communication from friends, allies, and benefactors, communications or money decisions around gains in your career and how you earn the money off of your career house were occurring July 21st, August 18th, and September 7th. And September 7th is the last pass, but they may be very much interconnected. And there can be secrets, surprising secrets revealed to you from a friend or an elder sibling as well from the past on September the 7th. All said and done, try to connect those dots, because whatever you're doing July 21st, August 18th, and September 7th involves news coming through the work gains, the friends, allies, and elder sibling part of your sky. And let's see what happens this Saturday and see if you can find patterns in that part of the story. All right, moving on to a Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Apologies if you think I'm moving fast, but I've got a client in half an hour, and sometimes I don't always time my videos perfectly to get everybody the same amount of time. Like, subscribe, and if you're in the Premier, please, do all the good stuff for me. All right, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. We have the start of the week with a Venus and South Node energetic in your 12th house. Letting go, releasing and surrendering an addiction, self-undoing, or bad habit. Is it time to quit the vape, the weed, the wine, whatever holds you back? Or are you having a diminishment in your sexual bed pleasures or a disappointment in your alone time? Look for those probabilities Monday through Thursday. At the same time, I would say to you, what about Uranus? He's retrograding in your marriage house, or your business partners, or your client audience marketplace. Well, he's been in this direct motion over the same degree since mid-May. And what was going on in your marriage type relationships mid-May onward until September 1st, when he retrogrades through to January 30th and covers old ground. The changes made here, May 15th, through to September 1st were outer ones, and they were surprising, and they may not have been about you. Maybe your main squeeze partner in business or love was having major changes in their life, and it wasn't your story. And maybe it's still not, because as Uranus retrogrades, old ground is being covered inwardly by and with that person. But you could also be looking at the marriage house itself, for example, the committed long-term love house, with new deep insights about your relationship to those significant committed people in your life, the ones you are putting on your phone for the priority speed dial. Also, you might notice that Mars will move here, of course, September the 4th into your 9th house and be there through till next April, almost. And there's a lot going on, therefore, to do with foreign shores, foreign lands, travel, and getaways, if not long-term travel when Mars is up here. And you may especially be considering that travel, planning that travel, or arranging for that travel that could take place between this ingress on September 4th all the way through to next April. And I would encourage you to go into my deep dive video on the Mars transit that comes out on this Wednesday, the 4th. And lastly, Pluto has retrograded, of course, back into your September 1st, back into your 3rd house. And this is going to finish up unfinished business you've been working on since 2008 to do with a younger sibling, neighbors, neighborhood, writing projects, online social media marketing, and selling. Go watch my deep dive Pluto video for more on that. I do like this week's Uranus Pluto trine for you. It could bring some significant developments in a business partnership or marriage relationship to do with writing, communicating, marketing, selling, and traveling in this week ahead, but to places you've both been before. And finally, Mercury will square Uranus 3 times, has July the 21st and August the 18th. Mercury in Leo and Uranus in your Taurus house. September 7th is the last of these squares. Surprising developments and news to do with your reputation and career, and things to do with work and bosses. And this is Uranus in a house of legal contracts and terms. So some big surprising developments and changes in the legal terms of your work or the agreements you make with your workmates or bosses. July 21st, August 18th, and now September 7th. Try to connect those dots. In what way are they familiar to you, if at all? If at all. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rise. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is a story of Lori drinking some water. Give me a minute, or some juice. Okay. We start the week on Tuesday with Venus in your 11th house. This is good spirit. It's a good house, but she's with the South Node. Maybe a disappointment with a friend, maybe a disappointment in a career earnings matter, maybe a loss or surrender of a friend. It's time for a friend to leave or you to leave them, and that's just okay. It's a destined thing. Or you make a new friend and it's a very soulmate-y destined friendship, and you guys get on like thick as thieves because you feel like besties from another life. That's possible Monday through Thursday with epicenter Tuesday. Now, moving into the Uranus story, which is the big one, Uranus is stationing retrograde September 1st. He will go backwards through to January 30th, but he's covering ground that he was traveling since May 15th. So you're going to reassess that story to do with your work, your health routines, pets, and rental situations, especially rental as well, because you have Neptune down here, and that is indicating some changes with your properties that you are a landlord of or a leasee of, a tenant of. And Mercury's, as he goes backwards, he's coming up with not surprising outer change, usually inner change to do with those matters that can surprise you, including pets, maybe a sudden decision to get a pet and you've been mulling it over, or now you are clear that you do or do not want a pet, a dream pet in the home, etc. And we also can note that Mars moves into this part of your chart for chunky money. You'll be really working on your like investments and your money you share with others, royalty income, and such matters for much time. Go into my Mars video about that, but that really starts up in your sky, Wednesday, the 4th of September, and doesn't really complete till April the 18th. And there's a lot of attention you're putting into your 8th house of money, and it bleeds through to your 9th house as well. And I cover that in great deal depth in my Mars video for you. This is money you share with a spouse as well. And don't forget, sometimes Jupiter can bring blessed endings as well as new beginnings in spousal relationships. He's in your 7th house of marriage until next June. And this would be dividing the assets or the inheritance monies, where inheritance monies from anybody, a grandparent especially, or assets in a separation or divorce are very much a Mars in Cancer 8th house narrative. Fighting for the money, dividing the money, separating the money. All right. Also Sagittarius, don't forget Pluto is spending his last gasp of grand finale in your 2nd house of resources and money and savings. And again, with Mars going here, a lot of your focus will be money matters here with Pluto going back into that 2nd house, and he'll be there from September 1st to November 19th. And you'll feel the beginning of this kind of money energy really kicking into your focal point of energy this week ahead. Mercury squaring this retrograde Uranus is September 7th. This is Saturday, feeling it, just a bit before and after. But it's connected to something you've already been through. So it can be about book publishing, travel, academics, foreign lands, visas, passports, information, news, connected to work, health, and pets. And that stuff has been going on July 21st, Mercury square Uranus, August 18th, retrograde Mercury square Uranus, and third pass, September 7th, Mercury square Uranus. So these themes of unexpected surprising news and information are keep playing out, but with September 7th, Uranus retrograde, something about it is somewhat familiar. It's coming from the past, coming from something that was going on since May the 15th. Capricorn, you sun, moon, and rising. I have to start with Pluto. Okay, like why not? Pluto retrograding September 1st through to October 11th, then direct through to 19th of November in your sign. If anybody had to go back and watch my Pluto and Capricorn deep dive video that's pinned to the top of my channel, it's you guys. So I'm not going to say anything but go back and watch this video. It is critical for you, especially Capricorn 27 to 29 degrees sun, moon, or rising. But also this week ahead, we have the beginning on Tuesday of Venus and the South Node in the house of reputation and career. And there may be either a karmic meetup with somebody from your past to do with career and reputation opportunities, or a loss or disappointment or surrender around those 10th house things where you have a disappointment. But, South Node can be just stuff from the past lives or distant past or the past. Venus is opportunity. She's in dignity. So it can also be some opportunity from somebody from your past in a career matter this week ahead. Emphasis on Tuesday, but maybe a few days before and after. As well, we can note that we see Uranus retrograde here. Yay! Starting September 1st. And he's sliding back through your 5th house of children and romance and entrepreneurial activities and passionate sexual energies. So he's retrograding. And it's covering old ground between 27 and 23 degrees of Taurus that has been covered by him direct motion mid-May. So go mid-May to September 1st. What were you doing with children, romance, sexuality, entrepreneurship, those that matters, creative projects? What were you up to? Now he's turning around to go backwards over the old territory. He's traveled since May. And instead of outer changes or electric unexpected disturbances here, it's going to be about how this is processed inwardly, probably by you. And it's really going to impact all of you Capricorns in the last, 20 to 29 degrees of Capricorn by sun, moon, and rising more intensely. And so look for that kind of inward momentum. If you're an artist, new ideas, insights, ahas can come to you. If you're an entrepreneur, similar, or some unexpected surprising developments connected to your children. And with moon in Virgo, announcements of grandchildren on the way could be true for some of you. When I look at the energy of Mars moving into your 7th this week on Wednesday, go watch my deep dive video. You're going to start to have separation and time apart from a significant partner in your life, and or conflict with them, right? That's what Mars usually does here. And that's going to start up as a longer story, September 1st to mid-April, with some dips into this part of your story. So you better definitely watch my deep dive Mars video coming this Wednesday. I can't possibly cover it here. And then Mercury will come into a difficult square energy of some unexpected surprises that you've already lived through on July the 21st, August 18th, and last gasp Saturday, September 7th. This can be about money, savings, stock market investments, and shared resources with the bank and credit card companies and mortgages, or whatever monies you share with others, including your spouse or long-term partner. And there's news information, and yet it's connected to also your children. So I'd say chunky money and children surprises, and maybe one of your children needs money, maybe some project, creative or entrepreneurial and financial matters, and a surprise element to it. Maybe something to do with surprises connected to your secrets. There's secrets in the 8th house connected to your children or your lover, and those can be spilling out on September 7th, and they may have also spilled out July 21st or August 18th, and this may be interconnected stories. So that's the best I have for you at this point. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications if you're watching in the live premiere. And we move into the Aquarius people. All right, Aquarius, sun, moon, rising. First of all, Pluto moves backwards. I have to start there. You've been getting acquainted with Pluto. He's been hovering in your sign in and out. And now he's going back for the last gasp in your 12th house. So you feel less heavy, less intense, less like you're breathing like Darth Vader, like during this week ahead and through until November 19th. The weight of Pluto is off of you. So it's just a vibe change, right? We're not so heavy and Pluto-like and serious and looking at the dark side of life. And that's okay. And we're going to go back and deal with the last gasp of enlightenment or wealth through far off places. And that starts this week ahead. Watch my deep dive Capricorn Pluto video that's pinned to my top of my channel. But next off, we also can say what happens on Tuesday when Venus South Node conjoin, and maybe a bit before and after by days, you might find a need to surrender or release something to do with spiritual philosophy, to do with your legal matters, to do with things to do with travel opportunities or educational opportunities, even whether you're teaching or whether you're learning. And you may also find that you could meet somebody new. It's trining your ascendant, which would be a soulmate kind of past life female, probably from a foreign land coming into your life somewhere close to Tuesday. Maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, and will feel like an old friend. You'll feel like you've known each other forever. A soulmated friendship can emerge here. As you move forward, Aquarius, we also will note just quickly that with Mars ingressing on Wednesday into your 6th house, you're going to clean up your health act. You're going to exercise more, eliminate foods that aren't good for you. Thank you, Saturn, for the help. And you're going to be basically detoxing or rehabbing something to do with health and wellness, food and food styles or substances that you ingest. Second of all, it's good for you in your work because you'll work your ass off, and Mars it is joy. So you'll be working really hard during this transit, which starts up September 1st, ends next April. Although you do get a break in the hard work, November, December, and December, it's a lot of energy and intensity around working hard. And watch my deeper dive video coming out on the 4th on that as well. All right. When Uranus is retrograding, which he starts to do September 1st, he's going inward, and it's an inward dark midnight hour of your home life, land, property, real estate, where you live. And it's also like where the midnight hour is. So a lot of it's interior. It's what you're doing in the domicile, privacy, in like the dark of the night, in the innards of your home. So insights, revelations, new ideas are coming from what you're doing in and from the home. Now, he's going back over old ground. He's been traveling since May the 15th. So you were coming up with new ideas, generating new ideas in and from your home. Okay, so you've been doing that anyway with Pluto in your first house, which is more intense, that you're trying to transform your identity and wealth through rebellious and freedom seeking and eccentric and an original energy in the home, right? And you've been plowing that territory since May. And now the retrograde is asking you to go back over what you've been doing since May 15th in the home. Now, Uranus is internet. And so he could be, you're doing a lot of internet in YouTube or, whatever kinds of Zoom calls and things. Now he's going back over old ground. He's less outward, more inward. What's he reflecting on? What new ideas or insights do you have about that? Also, ideas and insights about your childhood, the way you were raised. If your ascendant degree of Aquarius is between 20 and 29 degrees, this retrograde will influence you more than all of the degrees of Aquarius because it's going to be an orb of those degrees for you. And we notice as well that there's something else going on here, and that is that Mercury in the house of business partners, allies, and that could be any significant person, like an agent. An agent approached me for a book deal thing to put a proposal together for an astrology book during some of this time of Mercury in the 7th house squaring Uranus in the 4th. Surprise, surprise. And that would be like, what did you do on July 21st to do with homeland, property, real estate, significant emails, phone calls, and text messages from another person? That can be your significant other, business partners, or random people who are going to be important to you. And those energies of communication coming from those others on July the 21st, August the 18th, consolidates with the last story on September the 7th. So try to connect major phone calls, emails, and texts around July 21st, around August 18th, and around September 7th, and they'll have the element of surprise. But because it connects to the 4th house, which is your private life, it's something that you're doing inwardly or you know about, but maybe other people don't. Finally, Mars moving into the 6th, in a broad sextile to Uranus, surprising changes in your home, especially if you rent a home. And that can happen anytime, of course, between September 1st and January the 30th, during that retrograde period here of Uranus in the house of the home. Maybe you're unexpectedly changing your home, and maybe it's because of positive developments, because don't forget, Algol is a wealth star, and Jupiter can win you money in your house of lotteries. And then finally, let's get into the last people, which is Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. Now, Pisces, it's the week start energy that I'm going to go with for you on Tuesday. What is this disappointment or loss in the house of shared money with your spouse or a business partner, or in an investments or stock market setting? There is a feeling of something going down or losing something here, or disappointment being felt by you, maybe Monday through Thursday. Then we walk into the narrative of Wednesday. Mars will move into your 5th house of children, and he will be there. Children, romantic, sexual energy, could pick your sex life a bit, more passion, and he'll be moving into the part of the chart that represents entrepreneurial endeavors and creativity. He'll be there for a long time. And so you got to get used to that. My deep dive video comes out, but he'll be there through till April, minus a dip into your 6th. So go watch that deep dive video coming out on Wednesday. Next, I would say to you that with Pluto also here, going backwards into your 11th house, there's a lot of intensity with an elder sibling, one above you, or with your career gains and the way you make money, and you're redefining and redefining and finishing old stories that you've been engaged in that part of the sky. Now you begin to feel the temperament of that this week ahead. And finally, the energy of the Uranus retrograde in your 3rd house is simple. You're going to go back over some old ground that you've been traveling on. Just a sec. I need to pause the button. I'll be right back. Sorry to break you guys up into 2 bits about that. Sorry about that. All right. Here we go. And in the narrative here, we see you want to go back over some old Uranian ground, basically, is what I was trying to point to. And that looks like you can revise, rethink, or renew something from September 1st to January 30th to do with your relationship to your neighbors, neighborhood, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, also travel. And if you think back to May 15th, right, and Uranus moving through here, what surprises occurred in that part of your chart are unexpected developments or an urge for freedom, even reinvention of things that you do in the online social media world, especially if you're a writer, a teacher, a communicator, a blogger. And so you're making some revisions in your third house or travel plans, exciting developments, unexpected developments. And then May 15th to September 1st, as Uranus retrogrades, now you're making unexpected changes here. Some new developments are happening. Things are taking a different turn. And you're going inward to rethink, revise, and reassess it with new originality and insight. But also, this can be about another person, and it may be the back and forth, especially if you're a Pisces sun, moon, and rising between 20 and 29 degrees of Pisces. Things going on here that influence you since may connect to sibling, younger, may connect to siblings in general, extended family, social groups and networks from your childhood. And that energy is kind of being revised here through to January 30th. What's interesting too is that Mercury is involved. This Mercury squares on Saturday, Uranus, and it can bring you a surprise of some sort, as Mercury will come into a Saturday square to Uranus that replicates July the 21st, August the 18th, and September the 7th. So go back and see how those timeframes may connect to a surprise element to do with animals, pets, rentals and tenancies, debts and debt matters, like you owe money or someone owes money to you, or something to do with work and work environment situations and travel or learning or neighbors and neighborhood. It's hard to pair this together. Mercury can also bring news about your health, and it may come into something from the past to do with your health, and there may be information or news coming through online sources that help you change your health, or the local doctor's office or something, because it's your local neighborhood on July 21st. August the 18th connects to September 7th surprise. Now, thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys on Wednesday for the Mars Deep Dive video. I'm looking forward to it. I will see you then.